and welcome to a special Christmas episode of Exploring Our Secret Past. I'm joined by my co host and media guru, Carla,
Merry Christmas, everyone.
and we have a special treat for y'all tonight. Joining us is Shauna and Shane.
Hello. Merry Christmas.
Yay.
They are you considered the owners of the PX and bank
No, we're
buildings?
we're trying to become the owners, but currently we are renting.
Okay. Just want to make sure I quoted
Okay.
you guys right. So tonight we have a treat for you guys. Besides Shauna and Shane joining us, we have a video to share with you all. And before we get to that, I'd like to take a moment because of being the holidays and Christmas is this weekend, to wish Merry Christmas to all the servicemen and servicewomen, all our friends and family all over. Anybody else have any Merry Christmas greetings to give to anyone?
Just Merry Christmas to all our viewers.
Happy holidays.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, without further ado, shall we start the video and see what media gift Carla created for us tonight?
Yay.
It's not a video.
Oh, it's close enough. All right, so what do we have? Oh, our wish list. So this was a list of some of the locations that we talked about together, and we were like, these would be our dream locations to go and visit and investigate. And so let's see. Can I? Oh man, I gotta keep bouncing back and forth.
Yeah, Alaska Triangle.
So we have the Alaska Triangle on there. There's, yeah, I gotta flip screens to see. The Antietam Battlefield, Eastern State Penitentiary. So we have a little presentation. So Alaska's Bermuda Triangle, or the Alaska Triangle, was my pick. And the reason I picked it is because it is actually one of the most haunted locations in the United States and has 2/3 more people disappeared there, like without a trace, than the Bermuda Triangle, and yet nobody really has heard of this. They have cryptids there. They have planes that just disappear. They've had UFOs. So I'm like, this is just a paranormal, like, wow zone.
Very cool.
What kind of things? I was gonna say, do you have any like specific things that have happened there? What type of activity?
Well, back in I believe it was the 1950s, a senator actually disappeared in the Alaska Triangle. His plane disappeared without a trace, and the FBI still cannot determine where the wreckage is or what has happened to them. There was a senator, and I believe there was another high-powered official with him. And so that was one of the claims that started it. And just after they disappeared, they launched I believe they call them the DC Douglas 10s. It was a search plane, and the search plane disappeared without a trace. And so they launched another search plane, and it ended up crashing near Fairbanks, I believe. And so the other one that was of interest was a Japanese pilot called the radio tower and said, whose ship is off of our side? flying with us, and the government's airline facility said, we don't have any planes in the air. He goes, you don't understand. There's a plane right outside our window. There's something up here with us. So that is some really cool stuff. And firebirds have been reported being seen there. All kinds of different cryptids that have never been classified or seen there.
Wow.
So yeah, that place is like so needs to be more investigated.
Bundle up for that trip.
Right.
So the Battle of Antietam is on another one from my list. And the reason I brought up the Battle of Antietam is it's the bloodiest battle to ever take place on American soil to history. And so I feel like that alone has got to have a huge amount of energy and paranormal activity there. To have that much trauma, that much, what's the word I'm looking for? Activity of battle, scars to the land. Man, to me, it's like, I wonder if that would be more active than Gettysburg. Because Gettysburg took place over 3 days. This was one single day.
Wow.
Like a massacre.
Basically,
Yeah.
there was a area, they call it the Bloody Lane, because the soldiers tried to cross over this trenched out roadway. And they said at the end of the battle, it was pretty much covered in bodies. You couldn't even see the road.
Wow.
So to me, I'm like, that has got to have some serious paranormal activity going on there. And there was a makeshift hospital there, so you know the conditions of the hospitals of those days. That had to leave a mark on the land as well.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. As they say, the Battle of Antietam, this one-day battle was the bloodiest of the Civil War in U.S. history. In Sharpsburg, Maryland. So then we had the Eastern State Penitentiary, which this was one of Carla's picks, and I did some research on it too, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Carla, didn't Destination Fear go there?
Oh, I don't know who went there. I just know the history.
Well, I know I've seen it on quite a couple, maybe.
Oh, I'm sure a lot of teams have been there.
And I looked up the map of this place, and you would need probably at least 3 days to investigate just one of the buildings.
Yeah. What's cool about that place is it was built in like 1829, and it was the I don't know what you want to call it, like the prison, a model prison to base other prisons off of. And it was the first one to have the solitary confinement.
Oh, wow.
Solitary confinement. And then they started realizing that people started committing suicide. Like many suicides happened there because people were just going insane, being separated from everything. And I guess they were in there for like 23 out of the 24 hours they were locked up. And so they abolished the confinement because it was everyone was in solitary. It wasn't like, oh, here's a few cells that are solitary confinement. It was the whole prison was that way. And so that's why they abolished that idea. They called it the Pennsylvania system. I guess is what it was. Its nickname is the system for the confinement. But Al Capone was there for several months.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was there for about 8 months. And
Yeah. So our family has history with Al Capone, actually. My mom's parents, my grandfather told us stories. They had a farm in Indiana, and whenever they needed money to pay the taxes or the government for anything, they would go into Chicago with a bunch of eggs, sell them to Al Capone. He'd buy them, and they could go pay their taxes.
Huh.
So it's like, I'm like, I got mixed feelings on Al Capone, honestly, because I'm like, yeah, he was a ruthless gangster, but he did help the people.
yeah, they had their first female prisoner shortly after it was built. And then they later on down the line, they shipped all the female prisoners off to another separate prison. And then it was all male, but fights started breaking out. There was tons of riots because the prisoners felt that they didn't have enough recreation time, and all the perks. So there was like fires set and everything until they finally closed it all down, and it sat for quite a while, and then it got refurbished a little bit, and now it's just open for tours. So I would imagine there's all kinds of activity going on in that. I would love to
Oh,
go.
yeah. And could you imagine being the only woman in there?
No. I think I'd want to be in solitary.
Yeah.
Let's see. What's next? Galveston. Aha, this was one of mine. So, Galveston, I picked as a hotspot because in 1900, the hurricane hit and wiped out almost 3/4 or more of the city. And the warning tower was the first to go. And so not only was there the most casualties there, but people had no warning. And so when the water came in, there were a lot of, well, how would I call them? Orphanages, to where the nuns, it was reported, would have tied to them 90 children so they wouldn't get lost, and tried to make it to safety. And some of them, they said they found their bodies still tied together. And so there are locations like the Hotel Cortez or Galvez. Is it Cortez or Galvez? But it's in Galveston, and they say there's this nun that haunts it, and there are a lot of children, and they suspect the children are the ones that were tied to her, and they didn't make it out. And so it was the worst hurricane in Texas, and I almost want to say U.S. history. And it's kind of strange to think not many advances have come in warning systems, but at least we don't have on the island, isolated off by just a bridge, the warning tower anymore, that it's inland. And so they at least have a chance to get out. But just the trauma of all those people getting hit by the rushing water and the winds of that hurricane, I think would leave a huge mark.
Yeah.
And I liked this photo that I sent to Carla for this that I found, because it's got the damaged part of Galveston right next to the current. So
It's
it's like
pretty cool photo.
Yeah, you can see what it was like after
Mm-hmm.
and what it looks like today.
Yeah, I can imagine that when something devastating like that happens so quickly, there's probably a lot of lingering spirits, I would think.
Oh, definitely. Because, I mean, we talk about going in your sleep and not knowing you passed away.
Right?
That type of spirit, these people would be like, the last thing they saw was a wall of water coming at them. That that alone, I think, would have me anchored to that spot and being like, wait a minute, what just happened?
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Next up, we have the Indiana State Sanatorium. So this one I put on my list because a couple of friends of mine that are a part of Sirens of the Expanses up north actually went there and told me they had all kinds of strange experiences there. Equipment wasn't working properly, or they'd get the feeling all of a sudden of being sick. And so I feel like because it's a sanatorium, that there's probably a lot of suicides probably that happen there. A lot of uh, what's another one that could be there? Shauna, you may have a better idea of what type of spirits you would meet in a sanatorium with.
Well, based on the date, like at the old Nazareth, people would even the sanatoriums would double as. It sounds brutal, but in the 1800s, people would give over children who were born with maybe a deformity,
Mm-hmm.
either physical or mental, to sanitariums or sanatoriums to be raised there. So if you can imagine that kind of mixed energy, you've got children often, and then uh, people who aren't in their right mind. So that'd
Mm-hmm.
be kind of a crazy mixed energy.
Or even to the point where families just don't want to bother being taken care or taking care of another family member, and that's where they end up, unfortunately.
And that's true. And unfortunately, the system was set up to favor men over women. And so there are men who could have been like, you know, my wife is driving me nuts for doing this and this. Can you please help me out? And they would actually commit them.
Oh yeah.
And that was considered okay. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And I could not believe how many times I seen like notices on walls of what you could be convicted for or locked up in the sanatorium for. And I mean, nowadays we laugh at it talking about how ridiculous it is, but that was real life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so if he just was like, hey, I like my secretary more than my wife, they would lock up his wife so he could be with the secretary and think that's okay. And I'm like, that I think leaves a mark too, to where people were unjustly put through torture and these conditions for reasons that were not even of their control or their choosing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it seems like the more a patient would fight it, the more crazy that they would probably seem because they're trying to say, I'm not crazy.
And I think one of the famous, and I hate to say famous, but it is, treatment methods of sanatoriums were, I forget the term, where
Phlebotomy.
where they take and they put spikes or electricity into the brain and like pretty much kill your brain to where you're a walking zombie. Is that the right term, Shauna?
Yeah.
Or electric shock therapy. Yeah.
Probably back in that day, it would be more like ice pick.
Yeah. Like, the
Yeah.
trepanning.
Yep.
Yeah, through the eye.
Mhm.
The
So yeah, I mean, just thinking about the treatments that they may have survived is enough for me to go, dude, I am so gonna haunt this place.
Yeah.
Because this is so wrong. All right, well, let's see. Are we gonna stick into that time frame, or we're up?
Oh, ding, 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 ding.
All right, so we are at our first Christmas giveaway. So everybody in the audience, I'm hoping you're paying attention to this, because if the first person who can comment in the comment section one of the two buildings, we mentioned them, you can get this gift of 2 passes to investigate Fort Walters with Carla and I on January 28th next year. So if anybody was listening earlier, we mentioned them. So if you could type in the comments, the first person.
Yeah, he said one of them.
Guys, don't leave us hanging here. So while we're waiting for them to comment, or even I'll even sweeten the deal. If you, in case you missed the locations, if you can tell us the city it's in.
It's right there.
So Crazy Catherine says Galveston. Unfortunately, that is not the location of Fort Walters.
Google is your friend. So's the
You
screen.
can't pay attention.
So's the screen.
There you go, Michael.
Wow, Stephen Woodard is like sitting here trying to win the
He got one.
investigation with calling out all kinds of locations there.
Steven.
He got it.
But
Steven.
Stephen got one of them.
You got one.
So it was the bank and the PX building. So
Cat got Mineral Wells.
and Crazy Catherine got Mineral Wells. So very cool. So Stephen, you are in New Mexico. So are you free on January 28th to come and investigate Mineral Wells?
That'd be cool. Steven's awesome.
Da, 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 da.
So
Checking the schedule.
yeah, he's got to talk to Crystal, I'm sure. So while he's doing that, we have a bonus treat for you all about Mineral Wells and Fort Walters. Shauna, if you want to take it away.
Well, sure. We have been fortunate enough to be living now in Mineral Wells for going on 5 years, and we have learned that I think Mineral Wells is probably one of the most haunted cities in the United States, and we've been blessed enough to take over and save several buildings here in town. And 2 of our latest buildings that we've been working on is the old PX, which is the public exchange. It's about a 40,000 square foot building, very active. And their commissary or bank, which is about an 8,000 square foot building. So you'll get to investigate both buildings. Fort Walters was originally an Army training facility during World War II. It also served as a German POW camp on portions of it. And we do have, and Michael, I think, was there. We have several German EVPs that have been picked up during various investigations. Audie Murphy, who's one trained at Fort Walters, and its last use was during the Vietnam War. It was a Army base still, but they built and trained all of the helicopter pilots for the Vietnam era. So if there was a helicopter that flew in Vietnam, that pilot trained in Mineral Wells, and that chopper was built in Mineral Wells. And so we have 2 of the 150 buildings that are out on the base. We have access to 2 of them, and they're phenomenal. But I know Steven's been out there. Yes, he's free on the 28th. Yay, Steven.
Perfect.
Um,
And he
he's
wants
been
the
there
hospital.
before, and it's been very active. It's not. I think this from the land to the buildings to the you see Chelsea to the things we have collected. As we are not paranormal investigators, we're haunters, but we've collected things over the last 30 years. And Chelsea, right there, who was on Destination Fear, is a vessel doll. Now, we didn't know that until we called the Ghostbusters, and you guys have came into our life to try to explain some of the things that have happened to us. Because, like I said, when we moved to Mineral Wells, we knew nothing about the paranormal. And thank God you guys do, because we did not know what to do when things started moving and shaking and talking to us and scratching us and biting us and pushing us. You name it, we've seen it or had it happen to us since we've been here in Mineral Wells. So,
Yep.
very, very active location.
We can vouch for that.
And Carl and I can even vouch that although we did determine it was one of the dolls, there was no batteries in the doll, so we still can't explain why it was giggling. And that drove us nuts for 2 nights, for several hours, trying to figure out
Still an
how this
unsolved
doll.
mystery.
We finally figured out which doll it was, and it did it several times throughout the last, even since it happened to you guys. It's
Really?
happened, and
Did it have
freak people out.
batteries in it?
No, it has no batteries in it. That doll is probably 30 years old and pretty beat up. There's no way it works. It's even corroded inside the mechanism.
Wow.
And what's interesting about it is it's not on a normal schedule. It seems to randomly, when it decides to giggle, it's going to giggle. And
It picks its people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it does.
The funny thing about it was on Saturday night that I was there when we first documented it, or I first documented it. Carla had a couple from Chicago, and they come up and go, "Yeah, so what's this giggling sound?" And I was like, "What giggling sound?" They go, "There's a giggling sound in the doll room." And I'm like, "I have been here for months. There is no
Right?
sound
Never
in
heard
the
it.
doll room."
It's like, I swear.
And they're like, "Wait for it. It'll be in 2 minutes." And sure enough, it went off. And I'm like, "What the hell is that?" And so I'm like, "All right, who's messing with us?" And somebody goes, "Oh, somebody probably has a recording and it's playing somewhere." And I'm like, "No." So we were like, "Oh man." I was like, and then we went back the following Friday. Carla, Tony, and Cindy joined us, and we had it repeat. And I was like, "That's the first time I've ever had in my experience the same exact experience happen the exact same way in the exact same place."
And the part that was so perfect was that Cindy's in charge of all the electronics and animation and everything that's in that building. And she was the first to like, what the was that?
Yeah. And she's like, "Oh, that's got," and then it went off again. And she's like, "All right, you gotta be messing with me." It's not her word, but you know,
Yeah. A few choice words.
Yeah, there was some choice language used.
And she got up and walked out. We were like, "Yep."
I do that often in that place. I leave. Do not stick around for the craziness.
Yeah.
All right.
So it looks like we have Stephen and Catherine.
Yay.
Yay!
It'll be so much fun.
Yeah.
And to answer you, Stephen, yes, Carla and I will be hosting the investigation. And if you feel like you can go live, let's go live.
Yes, please.
Yay! That'll be fun.
And I guess one more thing before you guys move on, we are starting to book for 2023. So if you text the number on the screen and mention tonight's show, we'll give discount. Just text information or investigate to the number on the screen, and we'll give you an additional discount if you mention the show.
Perfect.
So, Carla, write that number down.
The number
Which I don't have it memorized.
I do. That's why I was just like, why do I need to write it down?
Oh, I'd just be funny because we're show hosts. It's like, yeah, make sure we get that number written down. No, Shauna knows us. We have her number on speed dial.
Yeah.
Wasn't Stephen the one that did the human pendulum the last time we were all out there?
I believe he has done it, but I don't know if he did it there.
I think that's where I was introduced to it. It was there.
Yeah, I think
It was pretty strange.
It was
So,
cool.
Linda, yes, if you text
Yes, send a text.
819, I think that's
817.
819. Yeah.
6773 and text the word investigate, and that'll go directly to Shauna. And the other cool part that I'm going to throw out there, just because we can and it's our show, in October is Texas Scaregrounds Haunt on Friday and Saturday nights at the PX and Bank Building. 4 attractions, 1 awesome group rate. So you get to go to a haunted house in a haunted location.
Yes.
With a lot of we've discovered we have a lot more attachments for you guys to come check out. We have had since October, I think we've amped up some of the energies there. And I know with the more energy you put into a building, I've learned from you guys, the more energy it craves. And so we've been having more and more things going on. And even when we just stop by briefly, it's like the building's missing us, and it will start banging and making it really freaks Shane out. I'm used to it, but it's like it's moaning out for you and wants just to stay longer. When you just pop by, it'll literally, like I heard "Don't Go" the other day.
Oh.
So
Stephen mentioned, yes, I did it there. The human.
that was so cool.
Apparently, I was somewhere else in the building. I was.
You missed that.
You were talking about Chelsea. I think you were doing the Chelsea interview.
I was teaching investigation with Chelsea.
Right.
And Linda Judd texted to get a discount on tickets. Just when you type the word investigate, just mention.
Yeah, mention the show, and then I'll get you all the information.
So we got you, Linda. We'll make sure everything goes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's see. Where shall we adventure to next? Ooh, the Winchester House.
That's one of your favorites.
Yeah, I want to go there.
So, funny story about the Winchester House. This was the one location that was actually on Carla's and my list. We both had this one on our list.
Road trip.
It's on our list.
So the fascinating history about this location is she would be up all hours of the night, and she would come in at the next day and say, here are the plans for this room. And nobody understood where she was getting this from. She thought it was from spirits from the other side, that because her husband was Winchester Rifles.
Sorry. Sorry.
See, even dogs want to go to Winchester. No, but so because her husband was created the Winchester rifles, somebody told her that all those deaths were going to be attached to the rifles, and so she thought she needed to appease the spirits, and so every room is rumored to be designed to keep a spirit of somebody who died by the Winchester rifle. And so there are stairways that go straight up to a wall or to a ceiling, don't even go into a room. There's, I believe, 3 or 4 kitchens in this house.
It's like in a constant state of construction.
And they said from the day she moved in to the day she died, there was never not a construction crew working there. Yeah, this place is huge. And Helen Mirren, I think it was, did the movie Winchester, and she wrote that she was like, felt really weird in the house and was getting some weird feelings. And so I was like, man, that's pretty cool that even the actresses and actors are like, hey, something's going on here. So, anybody else got anything on Winchesters?
I think we should form a trip.
I think so. I mean, even looking at the outside of it, man, it's like, wow, looks really nice. And you would not believe it was nuts on the inside.
Yeah. Looks pretty cool.
And it's huge.
I never realized how big it is.
Massive.
Yeah, I think you would need probably 2 or 3 weeks to investigate it.
Nope, just 1 hour for me.
Shane's going to walk in, something's going to speak to him. He's like, yep,
Yeah, I'm out.
Shane will head to the beach.
Right, yep. Yep.
Yeah. Shauna would be with us going, why do you all do this?
Yeah.
Why are we still here? Don't you have enough now?
Yeah.
All right. So coming back to Texas, this was my pick, the Alamo in San Antonio, Texas. So as history reports, there was, I believe, 352 Texians that died in the Alamo, amongst which is Davy Crockett, Jim Bowie, William Baird Travis. And the interesting thing is now there is brought into question, did Davy Crockett die in the Alamo? Or was he a prisoner in Mexico and later moved to another state and lived out his life? And one of the interesting theories behind it is, if you think about it, Davy Crockett was a congressman to the U.S., and so he would be a huge target for any foreign country to want to capture, because the ransom for dignitaries is way off the chart. He could fund the military campaign off of him. So it's like, why would you kill your golden egg, so to speak, at the Alamo? So that's one thing I'm like, I'd really like to investigate there and see if did he really die there, or did they capture him and they just, for the lore and pride, say, yeah, he died here.
Right.
But all the blood that's on the walls, they do say is the blood from the battle. So that, I think, would lead for some paranormal activity there. And people have said they've seen spirits of soldiers there. And the interesting thing is, people don't realize that, yeah, 150 some Texians died there, but over 1,000 Mexicans died because this was like a 12-day siege, and the Texians weren't just sitting in there just waiting. They were going out and leading raids and taking puck shots, and they were apparently really good shots because there was way more Mexican soldiers that died at the Alamo than Texans. So that was a fun fact I learned. All right, so, so
Oh wow, yeah.
I decided I was gonna branch out and bring up a few places international, and one of them was Paris Catacombs. I have a friend that went and investigated in there, and it literally is walls and doors that are created out of the bones of the dead because they ran out of room in the crypts, and so they just started piling the bodies up. And so you can imagine, one, these bodies are being desecrated in Catholic beliefs because they're just being piled up and their bones just being stacked with other bones. So you can have children mixed with adults, mixed with criminals, mixed with plague, mixed with natural deaths. So I would imagine that alone would create some really interesting EVPs and other paranormal experiences.
That's
Not,
crazy.
yeah, not to mention the fact that, I mean, look at the pictures. It looks creepy as all get out. Like,
At least they have a light in there.
oh yeah, they've added electricity for lighting, but my friend told me that if you wander off in there, they have so little of this catacombs actually excavated so far that you could get lost. And he said that when he was down there, you would start to get the feeling of something wants you to go right when you should go left. And so it's like the spirits are like beckoning people to come and get lost in the Paris catacombs and join the ranks.
I was going to say,
Right.
add another skull to the wall. Very cool.
Heck yeah.
We're up on our second Christmas giveaway. So this one is given to us by our friend Jody in Jefferson, Texas. She leads the historic Ghost Walk. And so let's see. This is good for a Friday.
Tickets. Yeah. 2 tickets can be used any Friday, Saturday throughout the year. It's an all year thing. So there isn't a specific date tied to it.
So if you have interest in walking around a haunted town that Carla and I can tell you we've been there, it is a haunted town.
And the Ghost Walk is amazing.
Have you guys been there?
No.
Not, I've been to Jefferson, but I have never got to do the Ghost Walk. So it's very, I've heard great things though.
Yeah, she's really good.
Yeah, we had a fun experience where when we were on the Ghost Walk, Carla and I announced at the beginning that we were paranormal investigators because she asks at the beginning if there are any. And I took a picture of this courtyard, and a guy walks up to me and says, "What'd you get?" And I was like, I wanted to go,
Don't know yet.
My camera tells me I have an orb here, a spirit here, a ghost over here. My brain shuts off, and I go, I have to put it on a computer first. I don't know. But yeah, so it's always fun. So let's see. How should we give these two away, Carla?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I think we wrote down a question to ask, but now I can't remember what it was.
Well, I actually have an idea. So, if you can comment in the comments
On
what
the first
city it is, because it's no longer on the screen, so you can't cheat. You can,
Oh, what
What
city?
city is the ghost walk take place in?
and who
First one
leads it.
gets the tickets.
No.
You have to tell us the city and who leads it. We just got done talking about it, so it should be pretty fresh on all y'all's minds. Keep in mind, this is Jefferson, or is in Texas. God, I love live shows.
Good grief.
Bleep, bleep, bleep,
Can't
bleep,
take
bleep.
you anywhere. Catherine!
All right, Catherine, you got half of it. Remember, there is a second half. You have to tell us the city and who leads it.
Nope. Nope,
Oh,
Linda.
she got it.
She did.
Way to go, crazy Catherine. So we'll put you in touch with Jody and let her know you won the tickets. Oh, she even went one further and gave us her full name. Look at you, Catherine.
Copy
Yeah,
paste is a
bonus
wonderful
point.
thing.
All right. So
Yay!
way to go
Congratulations.
for our contest winners, and that is super cool. Oh, and this one, I gotta tell you, I put on my list for a couple of reasons. Poveglia Island Hospital. So this was a ward for the plague victims back in the early years. It's in Venice. You can only get to it by boat. And there are so many bones there that some of the sidewalks are reportedly made out of the bones of victims. And the living conditions there were horrible. It was a sanitarium. It was a hospital. It was where if you got sick, you were sent there pretty much to die. And they just took care of you until it was like your last days, and then that's it. And so, as you can see, it looks really pretty from above. And it's like, it looks like a place that's really nice, be a real fun place to
Like a
live,
spa.
but no, it's quite the opposite. I actually had a friend that got injured trying to investigate there. He tripped on his ankle and he had to seek medical attention for his ankle because it was, I believe he stepped on a bone that he didn't see, and yeah. So the conditions on the island are pretty much spent in neglect for years, as you can see from the photos. And I gotta tell you, in all honesty, Shauna, I think this place is more neglected than the Nazareth Beach
Wow.
Army.
I don't know.
It's right up there, isn't it? They got the same tile.
I think
give
those
us 2 months, we can have it straightened out, cleaned up.
I would give you 3 months, Shane, because I think it would take you a month to come to peace with the fact you were on that island.
Very true. Very true.
And, get used to sleeping on such comfortable beds. I mean, come on. They're metal frame, metal spring.
Right?
It's like a pullout.
Yeah.
What else could you want?
Yeah. A little bit of mold.
So, Venice, Italy, not just the creme de la creme and the rich and the canals. There is a dark history there. Actually, that's what they write up this island as part of their dark history. They're trying to erase. And I believe the government right now has it on a do not enter. It's where you cannot go even to investigate or step foot on there.
Well,
And from my experience in Italy, you don't want to mess with the police there because there are 2 police forces at least, and one is not your friendly one. There is no coming back from them. All right, Yuma, Arizona prison. So this one was one of my picks because I came across this on a paranormal show and it caught my interest because it is a prison that has one guard tower, pretty much no gate. It's pretty much if you leave, they're like, go ahead, be my guest, because it is in the middle of the desert. And pretty much the temperature there gets to be over 100 degrees in the summer. So you can imagine sitting in a stone cell that, life is going to be so pleasant. And there were women housed there as well as men. And solitary confinement, they actually had it. And it was a beautiful cell that had no doors, no windows, out in the heat, to where they lost so many prisoners in solitary confinement that they had to shut it down because their death toll was just way too high for a prison. And I gotta tell you, I personally think if this place is out in the middle of the desert and people are able to walk out and they'll die outside, I imagine that prison has probably more spirits outside than inside. But they do have a cemetery right next to the prison. So, you pretty much had the joy of going, I can die in prison, or I can take my chances out there and join my friends in the graveyard.
right.
Nothing like the heat of the summer to, keep prisoners in line. Yes, the Trans Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. Was this on your list or my list?
Yeah, this was on my list.
Oops. I keep clicking the wrong button to come back to the show.
This is another one of those that back in this goes even back into the 1600s when this building came about. And again, I think it started out only holding like about 250 people. But the type of people that were in there and the time of the century that it was in, any abnormal activity or any craziness, or anytime somebody had some type of an off personality, they were automatically assumed to be a witch or part of a devil's group, because it was right when the Salem witch trials and everything were happening. So
screwed.
What's that?
I said Shane and I'd be screwed. They'd throw us in there.
Off personality.
Right.
I don't know, Sean. I think every paranormal investigator I know would probably be in there with you.
Right.
But it says like they did the treatment of mentally ill people, anyone without a family or friends, kind of like Shauna was bringing up, or finances to help take care of them, was placed in prisons where they're chained to the walls with no proper sanitation or care. Many were given the same treatment within the confines of their own homes, kept locked in attics, basements, and sheds.
Wow.
Yeah, and then as the years went on, it turned into like a tuberculosis facility.
And
Why
treatments for
did the
tuberculosis.
silence turn into TB?
That
Jeez.
increased the house one.
Yeah, it was designed to hold 250 patients, but by the late 1800s, it went up to 717 patients.
Wow.
And they said at its peak, the hospital housed 2,600 people in the 1950s. There's
Man.
about 500 patients that have died on the premises.
You know, I'm loving how the U.S. has such a dark history that they try to bury and not teach.
Yeah. But that's just another one that is just ripe with activity.
Of all kinds.
I mean, yeah, of all kinds.
Ugh, I'm just getting the heebie-jeebies just thinking about what's walking in there.
There's some pretty good bucket list stuff here, though.
Oh,
we've
yeah.
talked about.
So looks like we finished our little bucket list part of the show. And I'm trying to read what that says. With much thanks and appreciation, we wish you and yours a very blessed and Merry Christmas. Oh, there you go.
Merry Christmas.
That looks like a much better location to go hang out in.
Right.
I don't know. I think I see Krampus in the window.
I'll deal with Krampus when it hits 2 degrees in the next couple of days.
I think we all will around here.
Mm.
Oh, man. That's an interesting thing with the legend of Krampus. There is no one set location where people could go to theoretically investigate and try and reach him. It's like his lore is all over Europe, but there is no one location. Like Santa Claus, we consider the North Pole. Krampus, it's like he's everywhere. There is no home base for him. Didn't you have us animatronic Krampus, Shauna, at one time?
We had a werewolf. So it looks a lot like a Krampus, but it's a werewolf.
Oh, I thought you had a Krampus, either animatronic or prop.
Cindy might have snuck one in, but I don't think so.
With Cindy, you never know.
Exactly.
All right, let's see.
We are spot on time.
Yes, we are. Don't you just love being on time?
Wow.
Oh, Joshua says Krampus is living in a trailer on Florida. Let's see. We also have Aaron saying greetings from a view beyond. Hello, everyone. And
hello.
Sorry we didn't keep up with the chats tonight. We were wanting to make sure that we were able to share our Christmas
Santa wish list
and our giveaways and spend some time with our awesome guests. And
yay!
Interesting thing to note is Shauna and Shane were actually supposed to be guests back in October.
Yeah.
And Shauna got called in for a work emergency, and so they were unable to make it. So we appreciate you guys making time and coming out tonight.
Thank y'all for having us.
Thank you for having
some time
us.
with us.
Yep.
So I'm going to ask, because you guys have done other podcast shows, right?
We've done a few. A few. It's only like number 3. We haven't done that many. Ken Potter and Eileen was always the face for interviews. So since we've lost Ken, we've taken that on.
Yeah, this is the first one since Ken. So
how did we rate?
Excellent.
Y'all did wonderful. We felt very comfortable, and I loved all the information.
Oh, great.
Good stuff.
Awesome.
Got to keep it going.
Yeah.
Steven says, Shauna, here's a guy that has a magazine. Might want to get with him to put Fort Walters in there.
Awesome, Steven. I'll follow up on that.
And Linda Judd says, had fun seeing your bucket list, Michael. Well, Linda, it was Carla's as well, but thank you.
I can take all the credit.
Thank you, Linda.
She might have thought it was all my list because I kept introducing everywhere. But no, we made it a joint list because that's just how we roll. Linda says, yay, Carla. Yes, Steven, we agree. Yeah. Rest in peace, Ken.
Yeah.
We miss you very much. And so we have reached our hour. Actually, we're almost 2 minutes over. But just for everyone, boy, I just completely lost where I was going with the show. Next week's show. I was gonna talk about next week's show.
So go ahead.
Go ahead, Carla.
Next week's show, we've called our year in review, and it's kind of going back over all the guests that we've been blessed with having on our show and their contributions to our show and our support and their support to us and our support to them and their activities. And we have a little reveal at the end that you'll have to tune in next week to see. It's a big thing for us.
Cool.
Very big.
Very big. Big announcement.
So you'll want to catch that next Tuesday, same time, same channels that we're on. And as we mentioned before, I can't say it enough with this being this holiday season. Christmas time to me is the season of peace, love, joy, being with friends and family. And so, Shauna, I am gonna head us out with your motto. I love this. Friends by chance, family by choice.
That's our crew motto. It's been our motto for about 30 years. We all come into each other's lives for some reason, and where we've all stuck together. It's just been such a blessing.
Yeah.
And so thank you guys for hosting the show and having us on. We're very grateful.
Yes,
we'll have you back.
I have to say to Shauna and Shane, another reason why I wanted to have you guys on here, and I'll try to get through this without getting a little emotional, is you guys met me when I first joined, opened your doors to me, had allowed me to come in on my own, and took the time to get to know me, invited me over for game night, so got to know you. And I remember you saying to me, you should come and work the haunted house. And I was like, I'm a paranormal investigator. I don't do haunted houses. But I decided, you know what? Let's try it. And I went out of my comfort zone a little bit and love running the rules room. And
you'll say now you're in charge.
Line and sinker.
And not only that, but you even got me to where you asked me one time and said, do you want to act inside? And I was like, no. I don't think I could do that. And this year, you actually got me to go into the haunt as an actor and a scarer. And I had so much fun doing that.
Yep.
It's,
And I had fun. I had fun doing the rules room while he was out scaring people.
Right. Once you get that one scare, it's so worth, all the anxiety behind it and everything. Because I'm not very good at it either. But once I find that sweet spot, it's awesome. It's awesome. It
Yeah.
really is.
So
Thank you again, and reach out to us because we don't everything that we make from the haunted house and from the bookings goes back into these historic buildings to keep them from being turned into big, huge industrial warehouses, which is where a lot of the buildings are headed. So y'all book us and then come see us in October. We thank you again for having us on the show, and
Sure.
I'll put
We'll
my
see you
number
guys
up on
next
it.
month.
yeah. Always look forward to it. And I also got to say thank you for forming the tribe, Shauna. It is such an awesome group, and to be a part of that is so cool that we all get together and chat and come and investigate with you, and just the faith you have in us just is like, oh. So thank you so much.
We're just grateful for y'all because we're big chickens. We would be lost without you. So thank y'all.
And at least with y'all can explain to us to where we're not as freaked out, or I'm getting better not being freaked out. But when a door slams, or I still run. But but thankful for y'all and everything that'll kind of explain it better to the people and to me.
And
That it's
you teach and don't make us you didn't condescend us. It was
right,
was
that's
such a blessing.
Yeah,
because we were afraid to let people know what we were experiencing, and I'm sure there's people with residences or businesses that feel the same way. They don't know what to do, and it was just y'all, the paranormal community just opened their arms and embraced us, and like you said, we formed a tribe of, and it's amazing. I know you're running out of time, so thank you again. Thank you, Carla. Thank you, Michael.
yes, thank you.
yep. And Shane, I got to give a shout out to you for that viewing room you set up in the PX building.
Thank you.
Beyond believable.
Sorry.
Thank you.
You got
And
so
you get
many
to use the
cameras
viewing
all
room
over.
if you book. We do have that viewing room. You get to use that as well.
That's an amazing room.
Yeah,
And
thank
he
you.
records, so if you think you've seen something, you can reach out to him, and he will go back and check. But what is it like? You only have a day or two to footage that you store up.
Because it takes up so much memory on it and stuff, so it has a loop on it. But usually if I can get in there within 24 hours, I can get it before it loops over on it because of the memory on it.
Yeah, and I can tell you, we've done it. I've done it with you, and it is amazing that to have somebody who is caretaker of the building who will go and sit through the footage and
Right.
the time frame. You got to give him a time frame, otherwise
Yes.
he's got a full day's worth to look through.
Yeah.
So
yes, sir.
make sure you know the room and
Yes.
the time, because that'll make it a lot easier for him, and you can get your answer a lot faster.
Right. Exactly. Yes, sir.
And Stephen, I remember meeting you there as well, and yes, it was a celebrity moment. Will not lie.
Starstruck.
All right, so we
right.
are gonna sign out now.
Yep.
And
Everybody have a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry
Wonderful
Christmas.
holidays. Stay safe.
have fun, stay warm, enjoy the holidays.
Thank
Have
See
a
you
good
all
night.
next week.
Thank you.
We'll
Good
see you
night.
next week.
Night.
Good night.
Night.
Night.